Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for April 28th. April 28th is the 118th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 119th in leap years, with 247 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is indispensable. Indispensable is an adjective that means absolutely necessary, essential, not subject to being set aside or neglected. An example might include an indispensable member of the staff. The word indispensable comes to us from medieval Latin. First known use of the word indispensable is 1653. Indispensable. And with that, Maryland became the seventh state to ratify the United States Constitution on April 28, 1788. I believe we may have mentioned this when Billy the Kid had been captured earlier in the month. By April 28th, he'd spent the last 3 weeks in jail, and on April 28, 1881, Billy the Kid escaped from the Lincoln County Jail in Mesilla, New Mexico. I know we've mentioned Thor Heyerdahl before. Interesting character, Thor Heyerdahl, and on April 28, 1947, he and 5 crewmates set out from Peru on a hand-built raft they named Kon-Tiki, to demonstrate that Peruvian natives could have settled to Polynesia. I do wonder, though, if maybe it wasn't the other way. Maybe the Polynesians came east, but that wasn't the experiment. On April 28, 1967, boxer Muhammad Ali went to his local induction center in Houston as ordered, but declined to step forward when they called his name. 3 times they called his name. He stood silent and still. An officer advised him that he was committing a felony by not stepping forward, but he still declined to step forward. Almost immediately, he was stripped of his boxing license entitled by the New York State Athletic Commission, and other boxing commissions soon followed. He refused to be drafted into military service on the basis of his religious beliefs and his opposition to the American involvement in the Vietnam War. Later in the year, he was convicted of draft evasion. He was able to pay a bond and remain free while appealing his case, and eventually in 1971, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned that conviction. There are, of course, as always, many other things that have happened on April 28th in history, and I've talked about some of them before. I'll include a link to a previous episode in case you'd like to check that out. Today's song is Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree by Tony Orlando and Dawn. Written by Irwin Levine and L. Russell Brown, this song tells the story of a man who's been away and is headed home but isn't sure if his gal will receive him or not. So he writes her a letter saying that if she'll have him back, to tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree out front. If he doesn't see the yellow ribbon, he'll keep going. If you know the song, you know what happens, but if you're new to Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree, I won't spoil it for you. You can listen to it and hear it for yourself. The idea of the yellow ribbon is thought to have come from a custom in the 1800s where a woman would wear a yellow ribbon in her hair to display her devotion to a husband or sweetheart who was away, usually serving in the U.S. cavalry. This notion evolved over the years with several emotionally moving variations until Misters Levine and Brown wrote a song about it, and here we are. Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree was released in February of 1973, hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in April of 1973, where we find it beginning its second of 4 weeks in that number 1 spot on April 28, 1973. It also made the top 10 in 10 countries and ended up as the number 1 single for the year in 1973. Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree by Tony Orlando and Dawn, number 1, April 28, 1973. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoyed this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called, no really, You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in the description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Do not disturb.
Okay, I turned Do Not Disturb on.
Good job. Third time better be a charm. There's no thee there. One more time. Attracting. Just read the whole thing over. Are you making some sound? Get on out of here. Yeah, we're gonna edit that out. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.